Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie, Alex, Jeremy, and Jeff Burton.
I thought of the legitimate, and I normally do the spiel, and I'll do the spiel in a second, but I was driving to work today. I got a great night's sleep last night, and I was like, you know what? I have a topic that we can start the podcast on before we talk about hockey that everybody is going to be into. Everybody, all right?
Everybody.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. I'm Donnie Fandango, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic to my left. And so, guys, I don't exactly know what it is that he is promoting, which I probably should. But Bill Murray has been all over the place lately, in the press, in the news, all that kind of thing, doing a bunch of interviews and things. If I had to put you on the spot to say your exact one, you get one favorite Bill Murray movie, what would that be? And I got to tell you right now, even as I'm asking that, my answer has changed 3 times in my head.
Yeah,
but he just seems to be that sort of guy that no matter old, young, everybody just kind of seems to be into Bill Murray. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know what he's promoting. He's out on tour. He's got a band that he's doing a thing. They're playing the pageant here, I think, in April.
Yeah,
it sold out real quick.
Like, I should go see that. Then I'm like, I don't know if I would like a Bill Murray band.
I just don't know how much of that I would want to see, truth be told. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I want to see Bill Murray. I don't know if I want to see you sit on a stool and play guitar.
I don't know that I need it. Yeah. I just don't. All right, question.
Movie. Okay.
One. All right, you get one. And I mean, talking about some of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
You know?
Trying to.
I would say, I'm going to start this.
Yeah.
I would go with Caddyshack, except.
I think that's the chalk answer.
Hold on. I don't like the movie as much as I like Bill Murray's performance in the movie.
There you go.
All right?
That's a fair take.
Then, here's where I think I've settled on this. What About Bob?
That's a really good one. I didn't even think of What About Bob.
I love that movie so much, and if you know me at all, you can kind of maybe see where there's some things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That it all sort of works out. But not only was that movie great because he was great, but dude, Richard Dreyfuss in that movie was outstanding. Like, that would have to probably be 1A with 1B being Stripes.
Yeah. So my initial one is Ghostbusters, but I think everybody's like, oh, Ghostbusters.
That's a great answer. Nobody can argue with that.
I love the dry delivery from Bill Murray in that movie.
Yes.
Like when he's walking through the halls and the green ghost shows up and he's like, he's staring at me.
Ray,
and then
he's staring at me.
It's just amazing. And then, of course, I go to Zombieland because he was in there for like 3 minutes and killed me. Killed him, too. Spoiler alert. But my probably ultimate favorite is Stripes.
All right.
Yeah. I watched it with my dad probably 100 times when I was in high school. Like almost every weekend we would watch Stripes.
Well, I hope there's people listening to the podcast here who fit the same category as I do. And my category is this. I'm always the guy who I watch a movie, I like it, I don't like it, I forget about it. I need to know names of movies all the time. Like if you say, hey, what's the best Bill Murray movie? I'm like, start naming some. You got to start.
Right.
You got to start naming a few. So I'm glad I went third here because
so
you guys have rattled
ideas.
off a few. But I mean, Caddyshack, like Alex said, probably chalk there. But Stripes, I got to go Stripes. I mean,
I think I got to change my answer.
See, he's changing again.
Yeah, there's too many good one-liners.
Well, because I think of that. Because not only that, but then you think of like Harold Ramis and John Candy in that movie. There are so many freaking great scenes in that movie. And man, you're just talking about like Bill Murray and Harold Ramis together. And it's really a shame that they had a falling out. And I think that they made up. Yeah, they did. I think
before Ramis died, Ramis was supposed to be in the remake of the Ghostbusters. But he passed away before they could finish it.
But I do believe that he and Bill Murray had made peace before his passing, because I think that there was a long period of time where they did not speak at all. Yeah. And I think a lot of it had to do with Bill Murray being very difficult on some of those movie sets, I believe. But, I mean, just like the dry humor between those two and Stripes, I mean, I could have that all day, any day, every day.
That's why Ghostbusters was always my favorite, because just the dry delivery and everything he did, I'm like, God, this is amazing.
You know, we probably should have brought this up when Blues fans needed, like, something to smile about. Because now we got plenty of stuff to smile about. It's all good.
What's up, man? I've never had anything to not smile about with this Blues team.
I'm trying to get past the part where we're forgetting that Bill Murray's a Cubs fan, and we're honoring Bill Murray with the start of our podcast.
He and John Hamm sitting next to each other at the Winter Classic was a wild scene.
Let me tell you something, man. My favorite band of all time in the history of mankind on this earth, besides the Beatles, is Pearl Jam. All right? I love Pearl Jam. I love them. Love. The fact that Eddie Vedder is such a diehard Cubs fan hurts my soul. I hate it. Like, I have I have a lot of Pearl Jam on vinyl, but they have this really badass twofold Live at Wrigley 4 LP set. Will not buy it just because of that. It's a great show too, but I just couldn't, and I even love that place. But yeah,
gotta have your principles.
I was gonna say, Donnie, his number one characteristic is principle.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta have your principles.
Hey, you know, the NHL talks about player safety all the goddamn time. I don't friggin' understand why the doofus that plays for the Predators, who's trying to take out Robert Thomas's knee, isn't getting some kind of goddamn suspension or some kind of something. You talk about wanting to watch out for the players, then friggin' watch out for the guy when he's trying to blow out his knee, for Christ's sake.
There's the principles.
Yeah, the best part about that is the guy who did it, right? Blankenberg.
Yeah.
Like, Blanken is always what you say when you're trying to fill in a cuss word or something. So, like, every time they're talking about Robert Thomas, yeah, it was Blankenberg.
The only reason why, Donnie, is because it didn't connect.
And but then if it connects, then he's friggin'...
Because even Bolduc said, what was that? Or no, Kurz was the one that told me when he was talking to Bolduc. Bolduc told him, he's like, I thought that they connected. He's like, and that's why I went in there and I cross-checked them, because I thought that they hit each other.
That's what happens, though, in 80% of plays like that is the person who retaliates, the third party or whatever that comes in to stick up for his, which he should have done. Like, don't get me wrong. He totally should have done it. It's always, 20 years of doing these interviews, it's always, well, I thought that I saw.
I thought that I saw them connect, and that's why I went over there. And it's like, I get it, but that's why, though. I mean, I don't think Blankenberg would have gotten a suspension or anything, just like Bolduc didn't. He got a fine because he was a first-time offender.
Blankenberg.
Right?
And I told...
The bigger one was McCarron behind the net with that blind hit on Buchnevich.
Yeah.
That lurch-looking MFer.
Blankenberger.
And I'm talking about McCarron.
Yeah.
First of all, I was at that game on Sunday, and I told you on Monday when I came in that I yelled more at that game from my seat than I have in years.
I gotta sit next to him.
You should have
In
heard Kurtz
years.
in the press box.
Dude, I was hollering. Those officials must have been drunk. That was a terrible friggin' game for them. But also, man, like the Predators, like I understand that your team is bad, and I understand that you still want to play with some fire and show that you still give an ish. I understand that. But man, that team was... I hate to throw that was some dirty pool, mister, on Sunday night, and I would assume that we're going to see more of that nonsense tomorrow night.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you play a team 3 times in 6 games, and then also Nashville's had the toughest year ever. They high expectations and don't live up to it. But going back to the officiating for 1 second, like I try not to get into that with Twitter X because. The minute you start criticizing officials, it's like the rest of the season, 82 games, fans are looking for you to say, hey, you can watch a replay and say, well, I didn't see a trip the first time that they called on the Blues. Oh, there's a trip right there. I see it. The replay shows you. But I watched like 4 replays of 4 penalties in that game. And I'm like, I literally don't see it.
Yeah. The Rogue Broberg tripping one, I watched it probably 17 times during that intermission. And I'm like, what did they call? But it was that one, and then it was the Marchessault one, right? To where there were matching penalties. And it's like, wait a minute, Marchessault just got up and used his stick as a sword, and we're going to go Broberg goes into the penalty box?
Dude,
that was a wild game.
What about the disallowed goal?
That was
I forgot about that.
Dude, what in God's name? He didn't freeze the puck. He didn't have possession of the puck. The whistle didn't blow. What am I missing here?
He blew the whistle, but he blew it like 3 seconds too early.
Immediately.
Yeah,
he lost track of it.
Yeah, he was in the corner, blew the whistle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that I get.
But when you watch a replay, a lot of times you'll see, okay, it's covered half a second. Okay, maybe he blew it a little bit too early, but it was kind of – this wasn't, like, remotely covered. Like, it went in the crease and the whistle blew.
It was always open, and that's the part. But that's the part you can't review, you can't challenge, because as soon as the ref blows the whistle, it's a dead play.
Plus, there's intent to blow the whistle. Like, intent to do the dishes, but I didn't do them, honey. Sorry. Like, that's the craziest.
My wife puts me in the penalty box when I do that, too.
Guys, it was really – so it was on Saturday and Sunday, there were times, I mean, Sunday maybe not as much, but there were times where you could absolutely tell that the Blues were gassed, like just beat, like we just want to take a nap sort of thing. But then they get the day off yesterday, and they come back last night and absolutely throw it down on the Canadians, who had been playing pretty well, up for the second wild card spot in the East, if I'm not mistaken. So these dudes got a little bit of rest and decided to freaking bring the hammer back to the Enterprise Center.
Think of what you said too, a little rest. They got 24 hours of rest.
I mean, that's, yeah.
This wasn't a they got 2 days off and they went back at it. They got 24 hours of rest. I heard so many people after that Nashville Predators game saying like, this is where they fall back down to earth because they played bad in 2 consecutive games. And I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, man, they just wrapped up 6 games in 8 days with travel in 3 of those. And it's like, you're going to look at those 2 games to where they both still dominated their opponent. Now, yes, Nashville had a lot of sustained zone time. Chicago had those opportunities. But I never once felt like, Blues are back to their old selves. It looked like they were a gassed group of guys on the ice that were like, can we just get through that last game? You didn't have one of your defensemen. You already were without one of your top 6 forwards, and then you were without another guy in your top 9. It's like, yeah, they looked gassed. The fact that they went right back after that Montreal, or after the day off, and then just completely blew Montreal out of the water, that is pretty much all you need to see to say, like, okay, this team's figured something out.
That's the part that sticks out to me is, okay, we've seen it now for, a month that this team is playing really good. And other than getting hemmed in a couple times for a minute and a half in a game here or a game there, I feel like you never see the Blues of old. Like, this is a completely different team.
Not since pre-break.
But the part that gets me is how they're just throttling teams now. So 24 hours rest, 6-1. So going back to the start of the Four Nations break, Donnie, 13-2-2 the Blues are, and I looked up the numbers last night. In the 13-2-2, 69 goals for. That's number one in the league. 4.06 goals per game. They've scored 4+ goals in every game of this winning streak.
This is ridiculous.
They're giving up 2.18 goals against per game. That's the third fewest in the league in that stretch. And then here's the one that kills me, because whenever you talk about playoff teams, you always talk about goal differential. You want to be in the plus. You want to be the teams that are in the plus. That's who's going to make the playoffs. They were -17 at the Four Nations break.
Yep.
They are a +32 since then.
Whoa.
They are now a +15 on the season. They've gone from a -17 goal differential to a +15.
And they're the only team that's a plus goal differential from the top wild card down through the Western Conference. They're the only team. And like we always say it on the broadcast side, a plus-minus goal differential, if you're in the positive, it's a pretty telling sign you're a playoff team. And that, to JR's point, you're +15 is what you said?
Yeah.
You're +15. Minnesota's -4.
I think less than that now, -7
Yeah, because they lost
or 8.
last night. Yeah, so it's more than that. I mean, Calgary is in double digits. Vancouver's in double digits, and the minus side of things.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there,
you're
Alex. So, one of the things that I've tried to do, I fail, but I try, is to sort of keep things in perspective here. Is there a realistic chance? I mean, could the Blues catch Minnesota?
Yes.
I'm getting text messages every 10 minutes from the Minnesota writer at The Athletic. Mike Russo is like, you bastard.
Who is fantastic, by the way.
Right. Yeah, he's great.
What's he mad about? His team can't do anything.
He's mad because he was headed to Vegas, and now he might be headed to Winnipeg.
I didn't even think of that.
So his city is Vegas,
What do
and
you guys
now
think?
he's
The Last
looking
Minute Blues podcast trip to Vegas for
Yeah.
round 1?
Yeah.
I've never been.
Let's do it.
Let's go. I would honestly not. I would try to not sleep. That is.
Yeah, you don't sleep.
That's what I would. God, that sounds like a great time.
So then we got a text this morning from Pierre LeBrun to myself and Russo, and it was from Pierre to Mike, and he said, "Get your warm clothes ready for the trip to
Lou and I
Winnipeg."
were joking about that, and I go, Lou, you don't want to do that again? He goes, it snowed when we went in 2019. I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to do that one either. Here's why I was so adamant about it. Look at the Minnesota Wild's schedule.
Yep.
They just got shut out by the Stars. They lost to the Golden Knights. They're rewarded with playing the Washington Capitals tomorrow.
Good luck.
Then they play the Devils. Devils are back-to-back, though. Then you play the Rangers, then the Islanders, then the Stars. Like, this is not like the Minnesota, and they're doing all this, by the way, without Eriksson Ek, without Kaprizov. I think Foligno's still hurt. And didn't they lose one of their defensemen the other night to where they said that they were playing with 5 defensemen?
Yeah, I think they're down to 5 the other day. Yeah, they've had a tough go, and I looked it up last night. So he just read everybody the Minnesota schedule.
Yeah.
Tankathon.com, they do strength of schedule the rest of the way. They have the 19th hardest schedule in the league. So, not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Blues, 13th. So the Blues were at the bottom, but as they played some of those cupcakes the past week or two, a little bit tougher. So now their schedule is the 13th hardest in the league the rest of the way. And everybody knows the Blues are in Nashville tomorrow for like the 15th time they played them this week. And then they have Colorado on Saturday. And then you're looking at 3 straight at home. Detroit, winnable.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, winnable. You beat them last time except for on the scoreboard.
Yeah, thanks, Tristan Jarry.
Right.
Then Colorado. And then they go on a road trip for 3 games. Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Seattle. Who knows if Connor McDavid and Draisaitl will be back. They've been out.
My guess is they're going to be really cautious with those guys, so that could benefit you.
You would think. And then you wrap it up with Utah, and Utah is slipping. I mean, you think that could be a game that really matters in the standings, and maybe it does, but they've been slipping lately.
I still think this is going to be a tight race down the stretch. I still believe this is going to be 2 or 3 teams within 4 points of each other, which is why I think it's so valuable to continue to pick up these points right now. And Jared just read you that schedule. You do have a difficult schedule coming your way, which is why that Montreal game was so crucial. Because if you can get 2 points against Nashville and try and come away with a point against Colorado, you build up as many as possible, because then you're forcing all of those other teams to have to play perfect. Because if you slip up, okay, you're 3 points up on them. You're 4 points up on them. If they slip up, well, shoot. Now we're 4 points behind them, and we just lost that game in hand. So that's why I think they could catch Minnesota, because I think Minnesota's going through, and this isn't just like a weak thing for Minnesota. This is since the Four Nations break. They've scored the fewest goals in the National Hockey League. So they're a struggling team that's injured, that's losing confidence. I think the Blues could catch them, and my preference is they catch them and get that top wild card spot. I'd love the Pacific Division in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
All right, so real quick question. Are any of those big injured Wild players supposed to be back anytime soon? Like Kaprizov's been out for like 30 games or something like that.
Yeah, and
right?
he left, and then he came back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
They said they were being cautious with it. I'm sure he'll be back, but if you're Minnesota, you're going to be in the playoffs. You think at some point you want him back, but do you really want to rush him back if you're in a playoff spot? What'll be interesting is if they keep falling. You kind of have to get him back at that point. The other guys, I don't know. Eriksson Ek, Marcus Foligno, both have come back, left. So it's got to be a nagging thing that's just reoccurring every time they step back on the ice.
And the biggest thing is, say they come back, okay, great. They're not 100%. And the other thing is the team vibe right now with Minnesota is obviously not great. So you can talk about the injuries, and the Blues are winning without Parayko and Buchnevich. So it's just the vibe, next man up type mentality. I mean, last night you're sitting there writing a story for the game, and it's like Lou Korek and I sit next to each other, and it's like, okay, now who's got a point straight? Holloway's up to 8. Kyrou's at 7.
Yeah.
It's just every player. You look at Broberg, 4-point game.
Holloway, an 8-game point streak.
Everybody. Bolduc scores again, and now he's up to, I think, what is that, 8 or 9 goals in about a 15-game stretch.
Gosh, that's incredible.
Let me give you some of these on Bolduc, because we were talking about this last night on postgame. Zach Bolduc joins this list of Blues players with at least 15 goals, 30 points before their age 23 season. Robert Thomas, Jaden Schwartz, Tarasenko, Berglund, Michael Handzus, Rod Brindamore, Perry Turnbull.
Whoa.
Did you see how I did all that stuff from memory, and he pulled out his phone to read that thing?
Sorry, JR. In my defense, JR wrote an article until 1 a.m. last night. I ended postgame at 10:45. I got another one that I'll read off of my phone.
Here, let me go on my phone here.
Since February 6th, these are the only players that have scored more goals than Zach Bolduc. Tomas Hertl, Leon Draisaitl, Wyatt Johnston.
Oh, that's a pretty solid group of players. Yeah. That's incredible. That's it. So guys, as we're here and we're talking about this, and obviously you cannot underestimate anybody. You know that when you go to Nashville tomorrow night, it's going to be a very, very tough game because they are really pissed off that they're so terrible. But how do you take care of business knowing that you've got Colorado waiting on Saturday, who's been playing really fantastic? And I mean, do you think they will look at that as sort of a measuring stick as to how really well they're playing, or is it just another game? You know what I'm saying? How do you think that they look at that?
I think it's a very fair question. First of all, before I get to Colorado, let me say something about that Nashville game. If I realize you want to respond and you want to show your manhood, whatever, but stay away from the extracurricular.
Yep.
Just if somebody's chipping at you, skate away.
Yep.
Win the game 5-1. Let the lines roll so you can keep the ice time even. You're not wearing out your top guys. Just get in and get out of there.
I will say, though, that seems to be the advantage for this Blues team lately, to
Right.
where, like, it's that never back down mentality to where when somebody comes in and pushes, they push back and it's 5 guys. So, like, to me, that mindset and style, it, like, awakens a beast, but you got to keep your head up in that game. Because you can't get in.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I don't want you to change your identity. And you've got something going here where you're responding to everything and it's working well for you. But, man, it just.
I know. I'm glad Walker and Tucker didn't fight last night with what's his face, Anderson from Montreal. He was trying to get somebody, but, like, you could tell with both Tucker and Walker. It's like, man, we've done this 3 times in the last week. I'm tired. Done. I'm not fighting. Let's just move on, please.
But then with the Colorado game, is it a measuring stick? Yeah, I think you want to play well and you want to show well against those guys. But I'll be honest here, the long stretch that the Blues have had of success here, I really truly believe that you can lose that Colorado game 4-1 and still fly out of there and say we're good.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not a do or die thing. And also, too, I mean, realistically, you're going to have a bump or two in the road before the end of the season. You don't really want that, but I mean, that's just a realistic thing with this team. I mean, they're not friggin' perfect. We love them, but I mean.
But if you do that versus Colorado, then you have to be aware Detroit, Pittsburgh become, you don't want to say must win, but
I mean, really must
have
wins.
to get points in. Like, because if you drop a game, then that is that, okay, well, we stumbled and the other team could catch up with us. Now you got to get back to it. And with Detroit and Pittsburgh, those are, I'm doing this in air quotes for listeners, easier opponents compared to the Colorados, the Winnipegs, and Edmontons. But in my opinion, I think they play better against those top teams than typically what they do against those Detroit and Pittsburgh teams.
And you're right. I was just going to say, unless we can think of a game that I'm wrong here, is I feel like we haven't seen that team that's really stooped down. Now, Pittsburgh, I know, but they played really well. They didn't stoop down. They lost.
The last time probably they stooped down was the Blackhawks right before the break.
Yeah.
But that was 1-2-3 Cancun at the time.
Yeah, because we've talked. Yeah.
Or as we like to say, 1-2-3 Jeffco.
Yeah, 1-2-3 Arnold. But no, you're absolutely right. Dallas, they lost, they played well. Pittsburgh, they lost, they played well.
Kings, they lost, but you were without Fowler and Parayko, and it was a back-to-back on the set of 3 and 4.
Yeah, you have to go back a month where the Blues, where you thought, okay, here's a bad team. They're probably going to stoop down to their level. They haven't done that.
I really love, and the more that time goes by, the more that this Broberg Holloway offer sheet situation just becomes more of just an absolute steal by Doug Armstrong. But Holloway last night, such a badass, gets hit on the same shift, goes back, lights the guy friggin' up, and then I think on the next shift scores a friggin' goal.
Did you hear what he told us on the postgame last night?
No.
So Cam was filling in for Joey, and Cam asked him, like, hey, he's like, you had a massive hit. And Holloway laughed, and he goes, yeah. He goes, the guy kind of embarrassed me along the bench, and Montreal's team was chirping me. So I said, well, I'm going to go get somebody else back in front of Montreal's bench. That's the kind of guy that we like.
But again, like this guy, who to us at the beginning of the year, or at least to a hockey fan like me, or like Dylan Holloway, who is this guy? And then all of a sudden, this guy is an integral core piece of what you have going forward.
Yep.
And him and Jordan Kyrou on the same line, give it to me all day. All day. It's so amazing to watch these guys play together. They're so goddamn fast.
I'm going to propose something right now.
And I've never done heroin. I just want to.
I was going to say,
I just
you
want
look
to make
pretty,
sure that everybody
I
knows.
wasn't proposing that. I mean, whatever.
Watch it on YouTube. That looked pretty routine.
Yeah, I
there.
was going to say, you had that down to a T, like everything. I'm going to propose.
What's this rubber band over here in that car?
I'm going to propose we need to do some type of, like, watch party with Donnie to where, like, the 3 of us set a camera up, watch the game, and people can just watch Donnie.
As long as I don't, as long as I kind of forget that it's there.
Yeah, no, I'm going to put it in the background. You're not
But
going
like
to know it's there.
when the Blues scored I don't remember which goal it was on Sunday, maybe like the fourth goal. We had really nice seats because Tommy the Boss hooked it up. And when they scored, I moonwalked from my seat. like a solid 10 feet behind me.
This is what we're doing. One of these playoff games.
Or my version of a moonwalk. And what's so great, too, is so I give the moonwalk, I'm pumped because they scored, and then all of my kids, I went to the game with my kids, and they're all there with their hands up. So I just went, Ethan,
oh my gosh.
Benjamin. It was just
I wish 3 months ago when we were talking about how bad the Blues are and they're not going to make the playoffs, I would have made some proclamation. By the end of the season, Donnie will be moonwalking. This team will be playing
Nailed
so well.
it.
Isn't it nuts? Legitimately, this is crazy. Because I had these cats buried before the Four Nations. Hey, let's see how this goes. I just hope that we see X, Y, and Z positive before the end of the year. No expectations that they would go on half of this run. And not only winning the games, but guys, we talk about it all the time. How they're freaking doing it, man.
Mm-hmm.
You get anywhere near one of our goaltenders, you're going to get messed up.
Yep.
There is no, it just seems like the buy-in is there, the clicking is there. It is just everything that we could have hoped for. And so now you start thinking, we're at the game and my oldest son's like, Dad, if they make the playoffs, you think that they could win in the first round? And a week ago, I would have said, I would have just be happy to get there. Now, bring it. Bring it. What do you got?
Sorry, I got a sweatshirt on, but.
Bring it. I just, maybe I'm drunk with the team right now. That's just fine. I'll come back down to earth. But really, man, they have given us no reason to doubt them at this point.
I'm unfortunately in the same line of thinking as you, and I know that's going to bite me in the butt at some point. I look at how they're playing, and it's hard for me to say, another team could beat them in 4. Another team could beat them in 5. Now, maybe they lose in 7. Very possible. It's always the playoffs. But I've always resorted back to Jordan Binnington. And I don't even have to say just Jordan Binnington. Now it could be Binnington and Hofer because Hofer's been better than Binnington since the Four Nations break.
Ooh, one quick question, and I'm sorry that this just popped up. I didn't mean to interrupt. Any idea? Could we get Colton Parayko back for the playoffs? Is he done for the year? What?
I don't know. Jim Montgomery in about 4 days went from, he's probably going to be back sooner than we expected to, he's a long way away.
Yeah, so he skated yesterday with the team. That was the first time. And I think he had been skating on his own a little bit prior to yesterday. The 6 weeks takes you to the end of the regular season. That's the initial timetable. But like Alex said, Jim Montgomery said a week ago.
I said this the moment he got injured. He'll be back for the Edmonton, Winnipeg, Seattle trip.
And plus, years ago, I don't know if you remember, I think it was on the island. We were at that Barclays Center. Never forget because he twisted up like a pretzel and came back like 30 seconds later. So we started calling him Gumby back then. So if that Gumby nickname still applies here,
for a
he'll be
6'5" guy, that's freaking unbelievable. Yeah. Also, there we go. I think my microphone just went out. I've been going a little too crazy over here. And then what about Booch? Any idea when we get Booch back?
No, Jim Montgomery said yesterday that getting better but still not a player.
And this is still a sickness?
No, I don't think so.
Let's be honest here.
It was so vague where he says, hey, there's a sickness, but...
Call it a viral illness or something.
But that reminded me of that All-Star game where the Chevy guy said technology and stuff, because when Jim Montgomery...
The All-Star game, that was the World Series.
Was it World Series?
That was the World Series.
Jim Montgomery, when we asked him about Buchnevich, he said, getting better, not feeling good. Viruses and stuff.
Viruses and stuff.
That sounds like you're barely even trying to lie.
Yeah.
Viruses and stuff.
But, he had the big
follow-up is upper body or lower body. And when he says, I said virus. Yeah, no, I know. Is it coming out the upstairs or the downstairs?
But the big hit from McCarron in Nashville, is there something lingering? I suppose could be something.
Yeah, played that next game. And, me personally, I was like, man, he does not look like the same Pavel Buchnevich. So you hope it's not that, but.
Well, you just saw him get hit. He got rocked. And then when he came back for that third, I was like, I shouldn't make a joke of this, but I was like, well, somebody fooled the concussion doctor. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what I thought, because that hit looked
and
nasty.
It might not be a concussion or concussion symptoms, but it could still be a result of that hit.
The one I always go back to, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but do you remember the one where Perron got hit by Joe Thornton in that San Jose Sharks game when he stepped out of the penalty box? Perron played the rest of that game, and then, of course, he was injured.
Flew to Boston with the team.
Yeah, and so I'm just I'm hoping that that's not the case. And the fact that Monty's saying he's feeling better is a good sign. Otherwise, nope, no changes. If Monty would have said that, that would have been the concerning sign.
And then Perron, when he came back, he missed. Let me read it like Alex here. He missed 90. He missed 97 games when he came.
How the hell do you have that stuck in your head? But you're right. I did have to look at my phone.
I also just appreciate it when you guys give each other crap and you're not giving me crap. real quick before we wrap up. Frozen 4 for the Minnesota Golden Gophers begins tomorrow night.
Yeah, the tournament begins tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So, honest question, are we rooting for our buddy Jimmy Snuggerud and his Minnesota Golden Gophers? Or are we hoping that they lose so that we can sign Mr. Snuggerud and get him here in-house?
We need to ask Mr. Put It In My Veins first. What are you rooting for?
I think it would be...
as a fan, that's what I find interesting.
Well, I think it would be badass for the kid to play in the Frozen 4 at the Enterprise Center.
Yeah.
I think it would be crazy because then there would be idiots like me that would go to that game to scream their asses off for Minnesota and root for moonwalk if Jimmy Snuggerud scores. I didn't really put a hip in there, but I really should have. No, I will next time. I will next time.
If you got it, show it, Donnie.
But also, but for real, okay, let's just say they lose. He's ready. I mean,
how dare you?
Does he? How quick is that turnaround? How quickly is it till we see him in the
it could be
Blues
he loses Thursday and he's in the lineup Saturday. I mean, that could be the case. So this could go any different way. I mean, they should beat UMass. They should probably play Saturday. And
that's Western Michigan, I think, or Western Minnesota, one of the two that they would play if that team advances as well.
So I would think, big picture, if you step back, take the feelings out of it for a little bit, let him keep winning, let him keep playing, get to St. Louis, win the Frozen Four, whatever. Now, if he loses and he can sign with the Blues and jump in the lineup, my question is, and I wrote about it the other day, Alex been talking about it for a couple days, like,
who comes out?
How do you, it's hard. It sounds weird to say, I'm not going to play Snuggerud. I'm going to keep Texier in there. I'm going to keep, this guy in there. But they're doing it. They're getting the job done. And Alex, we talked about it yesterday. Jim Montgomery said, Donnie, I'm going to play the guys that got me here.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too.
That's great. If you're a player, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you're a player, what more could you want to hear from your freaking coach? Yeah. I do my job. I do what he tells me to do. I stay in the friggin' lineup.
Texier hasn't played since February, and he comes in and he scores in back-to-back games.
Yeah, quick story about him last night. So we're doing post-game with him, standing around Texier, and Matt DeFrank's Post-Dispatch asks him about his goal the other day. And Texier goes, oh, which one? And when we finished, I looked at Matt. I go, is he losing track of all of his goals or something like that? Like
you just can't remember the last time he played.
Yeah, I hate to always go this way with the joke, but I said it would be like somebody saying to me, "Hey, remember that salad you had the other day?" And I'm sitting there going, "Which one are you talking about?"
Salad.
Yeah, but yeah, so no, he's played well. But the big point is, who do you take out? And maybe people are listening here and they say, "Well, it's easy. You take out this guy. You put Snuggerud in there." Okay, but this team has something going, and check this out. Let's say you're a veteran on this team, and you are just so excited about what you got going here, and you put the college kid in, and he's got 2 turnovers that lead to 2 goals against, and you lose the game against whoever. Now, nothing against Snuggerud. He's going to be learning on the fly there, but wouldn't you question that?
It's really tough, and I have been steadfast on if he signs, he's going to play. They're going to put him in the lineup. I do have to start changing my tune a little bit because Jared's right. When Buchnevich comes back, Texier is going to be the one that comes out, you would imagine. And then you're talking about Joseph coming out of the lineup. And, I think Joseph's played well. That third line's got a pretty good identity to it. If Sundqvist is in and out of the lineup, well, you need a centerman. That's not Jimmy Snuggerud. So that might be the Dalibor Dvorsky or the Texier. So there really isn't a spot for him. You kind of have to make that spot. But we talked about this on our show, and I know there's a lot of confusion for people out there. There's been misinformation. But Dalibor Dvorsky's entry-level contract does not begin. Yes, he's playing on it, but there is a slide rule. What that means is he signed under the age of 20. So, yes, he's playing in his first level or year of entry level. But as long as he doesn't play 10 NHL regular season and playoff games, he does not start his entry-level contract. It begins next year.
Okay.
Jimmy Snuggerud, the moment he signs his contract, starts if he plays 1 game. So if he plays 1 game...
Oh, wait. Okay, so I did that the other day, too. You're right. The only thing is, it's just if he signs, even if he doesn't play. So
So if he signs, it
If he
burns
signs.
a year no matter what.
Yeah, it can be 0 games. But if he signs that pro contract, it could be 0 games, 1 game. So I keep saying 1 game too, but it's actually just if he signs.
So when Jimmy Snuggerud signs, year 1 of his entry-level contract will be completed after this year. So
I'm not. Isn't that like kind of a waste?
Yeah, but
Like even if the team's playing.
yeah, but the thing is, that's how teams entice kids to
College
sign.
kids.
Yeah. Hey, sign. This is going to burn a year, and all it really does is get them a
It's a
year
free
closer
agency.
to restricted free agency and a bigger deal. And Doug Armstrong always says that, hey, listen, if he produces and gets to a point where he gets a big payday, great for us. So I can see it both ways, burning a year off of just signing or 1 game. But
and real quick with him, like for me, I don't want to root against him. Like the kid went back to college twice to try and win a national championship. I want him to try and win it. And Doug always says, kind of keep your feet where your head's at. And you don't want him to miss the playoffs or lose the championship, not get there, and then all of a sudden his mind's not right. But I also want him to get as many reps as possible with the Blues. So I'm kind of torn with this one. But me personally, even with the roster construction, if there's a lot of games left in the regular season, 3, 4, 5, I think he's going to get at least 1.
Right on. Boy, this is really exciting. I mean, it's exciting on so many different levels, player-wise and everything. It's just, and again, kind of surprising too, meaning that a month ago, we didn't think that we were going to be here. So this is absolutely amazing. All right. In my veins. More of it. All right. It was really, I don't even know, and that's the best part, I didn't even plan it out. The people that were sitting behind me either loved me or hated me. The people in front of us were completely amused by me the entire time. I think I really got them hooked in with at one point with a referee, I yelled, "Your mother," and then, "I don't like you very much." And I think
he did the stanky leg with it. He's like, yeah, buddy.
Yeah, see, I can't do that. All right, so we will talk again next week and see where our St. Louis Blues are. For my homies, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, our boy Jeff Burton, who would be loving the bejesus out of this run. It's the Last Minute Blues Podcast. I'm Donnie Fandango, and as always, let's go Blues.
The Last Minute Blues Podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com.